Hey guys, I just thought I talk about something that a lot of people don't talk about this. They'll talk about everything, how to mix paint, and they talk about planes, but I haven't seen any videos talking about how to go about doing these planes, what you should be thinking when you're doing a face, what you should have in your mind as you're developing that face. You know, if you look at this guy here, you look at the painting. Everybody knows him, right? Everybody knows Norden, and let me show you Rembrandt. Look at Rembrandt. Look at the eyes. Get my glasses. I'll let them over there. You see the way the eyes, the way everything is just the way it's shaped. In other words, as he's drawing this, let me grab one of these crayons. As he's drawing this, when you do a face, I want you to think about this. Color should be less. Think about, well, you have to think in linear in the beginning because you want to construct the facial planes and all that. But when you're applying the paint and you're drawing the face, if you look at this eye, it looks very like this, right? You see this? And then it has another shape, has another area here. So in other words, you want to give it this shape, that shape. So put that shape in your head. Concentrate and think about this shape. That you want to get that shape here. Okay, how would you go about doing that? So look at your tone values along the eyelid. As a matter of fact, I did this eye. Let me show you the eye I've done. As I study Rembrandt, I did a picture here. Here's the one I did. Let me get it out the plastic so you can see it. This was a study. I painted. It still could have been better. Now you see the way the eye is done, the way I have that shape. It comes here, and even here, I was still supposed to darken this a little bit more because it comes here and you're going to have some shadow and it creeps up into the light to develop that form. And then this gets dark in here, which was supposed to come here and darken this a little more. But when you make a portrait, see it in your mind. You know, don't just see the whole face in your mind. Separate every single part and work on every single part separate, as a separate piece, a separate painting. Do the eyes, do the mouth, work on that mouth, on developing that mouth, of putting all those tones and values in the right area. Even hues, the colors, because every color has a tone. Alright, so you develop it. Now you look at this one here. I just started turning the form, but some paintings you don't want to turn them that much either, because they're more, depending on the style of painting you're doing. But this one I want to turn it more. I want these eyes to look sunk in. Grab the black. A lot of people tell you don't use black. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. I don't know who came out with that. I think the person that came out, don't use black, is someone that couldn't master black, because black was a very important color back in the past, the Renaissance. Black was a color that was very important. And you see the way with the black in every art book that talks about painting, black is shadow. You see? So then I can come here and grab a little bit of this light. A little bit of this alizarin. Still don't know if that alizarin is permanent. Being that I'm mixing it with something else, shouldn't be a problem. And little by little build it up. But what I want you to think is think about the shape you're creating. See it in your mind. You know, it's like you do a painting and you're working on a painting. Sometimes when I go back to I lay in bed or I'm doing something or I'm going somewhere. Concentrate in seeing that painting in your mind. And concentrate as you're going over all those planes. And how would you go about turning that form? See it in your mind before you put it here, okay? But a lot of people usually, if you was to go in their mind, what they would see is the whole image. They're not thinking as a painter. They're not breaking it up. They're just seeing the whole thing as a whole, you know? In the painting, it's a whole, but it becomes a whole by a whole bunch of different parts putting it together to create the whole, you know? Imagine if God was to create us, because God is a creator, if he was to see us as a whole. Like, I'm going to create a human being, and he's not going to think about lungs, heart, kidney. I'm just going to create a person, make the person solid, and just let him walk. But he didn't create him that way. Everybody has a certain part that controls your breathing, controls your blood, has a pump. It pumps the blood all through your body. You know, it's so, when you create a painting, think like that. Okay? And I don't know if I can explain that, if I explain that well, but break up the image. And you notice, if you look at Rembrandt's work, Rembrandt, he got very good at that towards the end. In his beginning, in his work, early work, his work was very flat. Usually a lot of artists, their work is flat. But you gotta, you see, I got two books open here. There you go. You know, Mickey Rourke, he saw my book. But, so when you look at the shapes, even the trees, look at the trees that he painted. You see, every part is a different part. Because that's how a tree grows. It grows in bundles. It doesn't grow as a whole. It has little bundles. Alright, but if you look at the face, Van Gogh was noticing that to make the face, to give it more of a likeness, he would have to capture all these shapes. Brow bone, forehead. You see the way it goes right here where the brow comes, it has that little dentation there, temporal keystone wedge, nostrils, all that. Then he gave it the line. Artists know that when you put a line, it gives the illusion of the head turning. There's different ways of doing that. So a lot of things you have to pay attention to in art, which is your edges, some soft, some hard, your tones, your hues, your values, turning the form, push and pull. You gotta turn things. You gotta give things shape, direction of brush mark. Now, Van Gogh, even though he painted 10 years, but Van Gogh was a painter way before he started painting. I mean, his family had a gallery. He's seen a lot of paintings all through his life. He knew artists, spoke to artists. Maybe it wasn't what he wanted to do then, but it was always there, you know. So when he got into it, he had an uncle that was also an artist, but so he worked on that. And that's when you learn to work with these planes and these forms, when you do work with a plastic cast, like a plastic cast like that, or a skull, and you learn to develop the face. But how do you want to develop it? It all depends on the artist. You see, I'm not looking for those paintings that look like a photograph. For me, that's, if you want a photo, take a photo. I want something more artistic. I want to see the paint, the flow of paint, the bravado, the brush mark, the colors. We have color. Express yourself with color. And that's what I like about Van Gogh. You know? And it's always primaries. Primaries always work. And if he has anything to work with colors, basically 2 or 3 colors. All his colors, all his paints. It's not too much color in his work. Blue, yellow, green, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, green, blue, yellow, red. You know, it's you got a little bit of earth tones here. And then also he did a couple of studies. It wasn't like he did one. It's like, what could I do better? This was the first one, I think. And then if you look at this one, you still want it to give it that pulling the viewer in. And you notice that he brought this down. Just that little triangle right there that he put there. It pulls you in there. And the red right towards the center. If you always want to put reds in the center, it draws the eye in. Blues towards the back. Blues, they receive the warm colors come close. So push and pull. He uses the dark around the windows. So when you're composing a painting, the most important thing, when you're going to start drawing this image, and you see it in your mind, close your eyes and see it, lay in your bed and think about it. And think about yourself floating on top of that image an inch above it, and see yourself traveling above the eyelid and coming up and going down and then coming around. And what would you put there? What would you put here? Ask yourself those type of questions. Every single part of that painting. Don't paint it just as a whole, which that's what a lot of artists do. They paint things as a whole, and then in the end it looks like a whole bunch of different things, but it doesn't look like a whole bunch of things. It looks like a whole painting, but then it doesn't look like a whole bunch of things. It just looks like a whole image. I don't know if that makes sense, if you understand what I'm trying to say. It's when you try to paint things more separate, like separating things, and then bring it together little by little, construct it little by little, it looks more, depending on your style also, it comes across, it looks a lot better. Like, let's look at his early work, where he wasn't thinking so much like that. I think we got some portraits here, and he was more flat. He was seeing things as a whole. Let's see what this is, painting as a whole. Because you have artists that see things as a whole. See, this is more as a whole. It looks like it's separate things, but everything looks more flat. You see? Even in the lining, you can tell he's thinking that way, the way he constructed the lines. You see here? You see, even the lines, it's just out. Everything is out, out, out. Here, he's thinking in shape. The brush marks, you can see it. He's putting it down in the shape of the cheek. He's putting it down with the shape of the nose. You see, he's pushing back. Look at the lines, the way they're being pulled back. This is more flat, more flat. He's developing. Even here, he's developing. He's developing. More flat. But he's seeing things as a whole. He's looking at himself in the mirror, and he's saying, well, this is how I look. Let me do this. Let me capture this. There's some areas where he's starting to develop brow bones, different things, how really looking, learning to see. And that takes years. Just that alone can take years. Learning how to see something. Learning to see different tone values. The best way of learning to see in different tone values is by looking at a tree that has different types of green. Look at it. Really look at it. And separate all those different greens that when you look at a tree, when you're in a park. Train your eyes to see different values. Also, paint in candlelight and low light. Back then, they didn't have lights like we have now. You see all these people talking about you need a 5,000 bulb, and it has to be half cool, half warm. It's total bullshit. I'm not too good with words. But anyway, thinking you have to train yourself like a boxer trains himself to fight. Well, you have to train yourself to be a painter. Every aspect of it has to be thought out and trained. You have to do thousands and thousands of drawings. Thousands and thousands of drawings. Okay? then you got to ask yourself questions. How many paintings do I need to create? Where, if you're really an artist, how many? What's the good amount of paintings that I need to create that my work is going to last? Because you got to be a realist. A lot of your work is not going to survive 500 years from today. Some of it is going to end up in a landfill. What's a good number of paintings to have that there'll be enough where there's going to be enough paintings that you're going to have a whole lot of luck like Vermeer. But you got to ask yourself these questions. If you're a serious artist, you have to ask yourself these type of questions. And there's a lot more that I haven't mentioned. But when you're making a face, really close your eyes, look at the face, look at the eyes, and think about the face in your mind, the eyes, the shape of it, every shape of that eye. Think about the curves and, the mouth, and think about those shapes. Think about those shapes. Okay, you gotta think about stuff like that, because that's how you're gonna, this goes up like this. But, think about those shapes in your mind. The shape of a mouth. Yeah. Even if you have to, and you're seeing the person front, and you're having problems with the mouth or something, imagine the mouth seeing it sideways, even though you can't see it sideways. Or tell the person to sit sideways and look at the mouth. And you see, and see it in your mind. When you see this in your mind, and you see turns and different things, it's gonna help. Just think about the shapes of different things. Also, when you're gonna put the eye and you put in the eyelid, make a circle where the eye goes, and then put the eye. Do a very light circle. Okay. And then do your eyelids. Okay. Don't make an eye where the ending of the eyelid is going to be here. But if the eye was real, the eye would be up here. So some areas come in. An innie, an outie. This is an outie. It's hard for me to even. The painting's so damn long. So think along those lines when you're painting a form. Think like that. And when you do the mouth, and that mouth didn't come out very good. And this is it right here, but by the time I got there, I was like, just quick. I'll come back and fix it. studied Rembrandt for a long time. I studied Rembrandt. Even the mediums he used, which I've already come up with the medium he used, which people have ideas. But I know what he used. I won't say it because it's what I use. And if I was to come out with it, people would steal it and was to come out with my product. They'll start creating it themselves. And you have to ask yourself one question. You have to ask yourself, what did they have in a household at that time? And then you will find out how he went about composing the medium he had. Okay? But, artists go through that, trying different mediums, trying different techniques, trying different things. I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's what he used. I think I'm pretty close because I might be wrong. But, and it takes years, guys. I'm still working on me. Been at this for like 30, 40 years. And, I'm still working on it, It's like all or nothing. That's how it is with art. It's regardless, everything. Later on, when you create enough painting, somebody will buy my work one day and be like, who the hell is this guy? But it takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of dedication to get good at this. For me, it took a long time. Some people it might take a short time. Van Gogh was able to produce beautiful work in 10 years. But it took a long time for me to see things different, to see in a different eye. When you first get into art, you want to try to capture the likeness and capture something that it looks like a photograph, and that's what a lot of people see. And it's not about that. It's artists. There's more to art than just trying to catch the likeness of a person. Or look, I was able to capture everything. You can't even tell that's a painting. Because that's how some artists talk. Look, it looks like a photograph. A painting, you want it to look artistic. You want it to have color. You want it to have a feeling. You want it to, it's... I've even noticed artists copying photographs from graduation. Like it looks like a person holding a diploma with their teeth. That doesn't look good. I'm sorry, that does not look good. Usually those paintings from the past, you don't even see people showing teeth. I'm not into showing teeth. I'm not into those type of paintings. That looks very amateur, very... you can look at that and tell that that's from a photograph. The other day, I was looking at this artist, a very well-known artist, and I'm noticing everybody's giving him like, oh wow, great job, good, like, and I wrote a comment, oh, very nice, but you used an app to create that painting, right? I can tell the way you placed the colors and how you did the colors that image was from an app, and I wrote that. So, it looks nice. What app did she use? And he was like, excuse me. And he blocked me and the whole thing. But before he blocked me, someone else wrote, wow, you got a good eye. because he didn't say it. And and when I went into the person's profile, this person is like, he knows art. I mean, and people are like buying it up. They're like loving it, but I can tell right away. It doesn't work. I mean, it's okay. People using projectors and stuff like that. I have no problem using projectors and using those type of apps. But it's how you use them. Like if you use an app, a projector, it's because I did a drawing, I did it on paper, and now I want to put it on canvas. And I'll zoom it up and I'll do that. Or I'll do a grid. That's okay. But you shouldn't be using programs to know what color I'm looking at. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be training yourself. You shouldn't be depending on a program. Oh, what color is that? Take a picture of the picture you're trying to paint and run the picture on an app, and then put the cursor on the area where you're trying to find out what color is that, and then create the color. You should be able to do that on your own. If you want to be a colorist, if you want to master color, that's how you do it. You don't depend on an app. Just like you wouldn't depend on a machine. They got machines now that create paintings. So, but that person that's creating art like that, he'll create the art, and a lot of people will be like, oh shit, great. But then somebody will wise up and it'll be like, oh, the way this is lined up, the way everything was done, you can tell that this was done by some app, the way everything is. You see? They can probably take a picture of it and produce the picture where he got the picture. He can back engineer it with how it was. So like in other words, if I was to have an app, this is how it would look. So all right, just gotta practice, 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 and if you want to be an artist, if you think you're gonna do it, working and staying home. I mean, working and painting a couple hours a week. I mean, I don't know. It didn't work for me. I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of years, and it takes a lot of practice to really get good at this. I mean, I've done paintings. I worked on it for 10 hours a day and for 4 days straight and just screw it up. That happens. Maybe it's taking me longer. But maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe because in the end, because it's taking me longer.